Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're doing the tour and talk for the 2x2 exhibition. 2x2 is an invitational of small works by 10 artists. The paintings and works on paper comprise a variety of aesthetic interests, but are unified in their presentation, with each artist exhibiting four same-size works installed 2/2. This is the sixth year in presenting this exhibition format, which invariably creates intriguing conversations amongst the arrangements. So this year's artists are Clement DaVinci, Thom Duffy, Charles Kalick, Lindsay Kovnat, Missy Maxwell, Peggy Merves, Mick Ricereto, Alex Sachs, Stevel Smith, and Judy Terrivel. Well, thanks, artists, for being here tonight. So we'll get started. So first we have Missy Maxwell. Hello, Missy.
Hi.
So please tell us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Okay. After a 40-year career in architecture, I retired about 10 years ago, and I started to take painting classes at Fleischer Art Memorial. And probably about 6 years ago, first I started with watercolor, which I took multiple classes. I found that totally frustrating. Then I took a class in alla prima still life painting, and there I kind of began to learn more about what painting was really like, the skills and tools that you need to paint. And now I'm more interested in trying to find some expression of the landscape or the still life that I'm seeing, rather than trying to be very realistic. I really do like plein air painting, and I do a lot. I go out by myself, I go out with my husband, and I love just being in the place and trying to respond to what I'm seeing. What else? It really requires a lot of focus and just forgetting about everything else and just sort of being lost in the place. Recently, I started to go back to watercolor as sort of a release from the sort of what I felt like rigidity of the oil painting. And I credit classes that I took with Keith Leitner at Cerulean for getting me back into watercolor. And I felt that was a really nice change, from the oil painting. I felt like I was a lot looser and I wasn't as afraid of the watercolor. And so the paintings, these are just a selection of plein air paintings. This bridge is from the Schuylkill River. The other one, there's another view from Laurel Hill Cemetery in the fall, and a landscape from Italy last summer, as well as a painting of dunes in Avalon from also last summer. So that's it, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks, Missy. So next we have Clem DaVinci. Hello, Clem. Oh, you're muted, Clem. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Thanks for inviting me to the show, Mike. Appreciate it. I selected these four paintings because the last 2 years I've been doing a lot of experimental type watercolor. I've been painting in watercolor for about 25 years now. And I took a couple classes the last 2 years that kind of inspired these. I took one up at Wayne Art Center that was in the Nita Engel style. I don't know if you're familiar with Nita Engel, but she has a book. It's called How to Make Watercolors Paint Itself. And it's a fascinating book. You can watch her on YouTube. She's no longer alive, but it's a lot of really abstract type of work. A lot of spraying and tilting and scraping and stamping and letting the watercolor like flow around, and you twist it and make it go all over the place. And uh, I also use a lot of granulating watercolors now. So I was experimenting with different types of granulating watercolor. Um, I got a couple sets. I got a set from Canada called Rockwell. That's a whole set of granulating ones. Daniel Smith has a set, and Schmick has a set, and I'm kind of going crazy with them. The other uh, class, I took two classes in meditative watercolor, and this is with Alicia Milano, and she kind of like, at the beginning of the class, she would turn off the lights and put on some music, and you kind of close your eyes, and she would kind of walk you through the forest and describe everything she was seeing, the birds and the sun and the trees. And then you would just kind of paint whatever you're feeling. And two of these paintings are cut. I didn't do them in her class, but they were kind of based on experimenting on in my own studio doing that. It's kind of like whatever happens, happens. And yeah, I mean that's what brought me these particular four paintings to your studio here. Background was in actually engineering drafting. When I first started taking watercolor, everything was like highly detailed, and I really liked the kind of loose watercolors. And it took me about 6 years before I could get away from all the detail and more letting it go and flow. And yeah,
Thank you, Clem.
yeah, sure.
Next, we have Alex Sachs. Hello, Alex.
Hi. So I am based in Yarmouth, Maine, and I studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. I've been a lifelong artist, and this group of paintings, the four, I was really excited to be invited to be part of this show, um, because it gave me a chance to experiment on wood panel. And I'm using gouache for these paintings, which I've been using primarily on pencil. I mean, excuse me, on paper, a little bit on, well, yeah, primarily on paper. And in my work, I am always working with my subject being nature. I'm drawn to the different shapes and patterns and textures that I see and try to reveal that in the paintings. And because of this show, I chose the butterflies. I had seen these, all of my work I try to do from places that I visit and spend time in. So these are actually from a butterfly garden in Canada that I visited this summer. And I love that idea of revealing these different scenes that I saw in this small area where the butterflies are kept. And so showing the two paintings over two, I love that idea that you can rearrange them and then go into each world that I saw that surrounded each little butterfly. And that's it.
Thank you, Alex. And next we come to Peggy Merves. Hello, Peggy. Oh, Peggy, you're muted.
Okay. Hi. I received a certificate from PAFA in 1988. And so I've been painting ever since, but with a short stint of color landscape photography. But that was a number of years ago. So mostly lately I do still life, but I've done a lot of landscape in the past, and also a combination of landscape and still life that I call window paintings. The still life on the table with the view out the window. These pieces are much simpler than a lot of the things I do, which is why I like drawing. I like painting flowers from my garden. This group of drawings was started in mid-August after I completed a series of still lifes in oil, oil being my primary medium. I started with these antique peach roses, and it just went. I just kept doing them. This group of drawings, though, is the first one where I really focused on colored pencil. And I love the depth and clarity of the color and the way you can layer the pencils and you still see all the marks that you've made when you're finished, which you don't do that as much with oil. And recently I've started adding watercolor in the background to the latest ones I've done. So I want to know at some point what granulating watercolor is. Lastly, drawing's just something I usually do in the interim between doing groups of oil paintings because I like the freedom of drawing. It seems much simpler to me than trying to make a painting. But this group of drawings they're more finished than what I usually do. So that's a little bit of a change. So I'm just going to keep doing them. So for the time being, that's it.
Thank you, Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
And next we come to Mick Ricereto. Hello, Mick.
Hello, Mike. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, so my background is also in architecture and interior design and industrial design. So I've done a lot of hand drawing. I was lucky to be in school when computers didn't dominate, so you still had to draw a lot. You had to do all your projects on drawing back then. So I used to basically, this is all about sort of subject and composition for me, these watercolors. I used to ride around on my bike and look for stuff that I wanted to photograph, but with the idea of looking for very specific, interesting sort of urban textures and things which were not just normal topographic photographs. And at some point in the pandemic, I was just like riding around and thinking, why don't I draw these things? Why don't I do watercolor? You know, it'd be a little more personal because like everybody sort of uses photography these days. So I really kind of picked up on doing the watercolor aspect of my art during the pandemic. And I did take a class at PAFA, a CE class with James Toogood, who I know shows at Cerulean. So it's a nice little in the family there. And Toogood is very exact. He's been great. So taking a class with him was quite useful because I really didn't know what I was doing with watercolor. So that helped. So yeah, these are all scenes from Philadelphia, except the bridges. Those are bridges from Jersey City, New Jersey, over the Hackensack River. So I really like to explore the layers of things out there, sort of the room, which is the public sphere. You know, you see all these wonderful old textures, and as you peel back the onion skin of time, there's just so many layers of human interaction and activity. Sort of the full 19th and 20th century story of you know, sort of free market capitalism at play here, and what happens when maybe people are not using the neighborhoods the way they were intended anymore. So you see a lot of decay, and I like to record that, and I just like the way the light hits the surfaces. In the end, it could just be aesthetic for me. There's really not any extra meaning to it. I just really like the look of these things, so I try and capture them pretty close to the way they are. I don't do them from direct observation. Not these four. These four are all done in my studio, because if I do them on site, they invariably won't be exact enough for me. So I do like to redo them in the studio. So yeah, very, very urban. These four are quite typical of what I do, I think. So it was quite easy to pick these. I just needed four that were square. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mick. And next we come to Judy Terrivel. Hello, Judy.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for inviting me into this exhibition. I was very excited to be a part of this. So my background is in interior design. And while I was at Drexel, we were required to take painting courses. And so that's when I started painting in oils. And I've been painting on and off over the years and just taking different courses over the years at various places like Fleischer Art Memorial, Perkins Art Center, New Jersey, which is where I live now in New Jersey. Over like during COVID is when I started to take my painting more seriously. I had more time and I started painting in acrylics. Part of the reason was I just wanted to have a more regular like practice day to day. And so I wanted something that was easier to clean up and not as toxic for my pets and my kids. So I started painting with acrylics on board. And I found that I did like acrylics as well. I probably will go back to oils one of these days. But for now, this is what I'm doing. I'm working in a smaller format, like 12 by 12. I've been doing a lot of 8 by 8s as well. And so these paintings are of Philadelphia. One is an interior, which I was hoping to do more interiors this year and never got around to it. So I'm hoping next year to do more interiors as well as more cityscapes. And the scenes of Philadelphia are like in a neighborhood where I used to work. And so I would pass by these areas and photograph them and then take those back to the studio and paint. So I'm hoping to do some like more abstract type cityscapes in the future. And another thing that I enjoyed doing in the past few years is like the 100-day project. So I'm hoping to do some smaller cityscapes that are maybe more abstract and just kind of take a different turn next year. And that's it.
Thank you, Judy. So next is the work of Stevel Smith, and unfortunately Stevel can't be here tonight, so we will just take a moment to look at his work.
Are these acrylic? What's the medium?
Mixed media, he calls them. Let's see. Acrylic and gel ink.
Huh.
And store is the work of Charles Kalick, who also can't be here tonight. So these are acrylic on wood. We have Thom Duffy. Hello, Thom. Oh, you're muted, Thom.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for inviting me to the show and to participate in this Zoom discussion. I'm located in South Philadelphia, and I grew up out in the western suburbs, Berwyn, Paoli area. I went to Kutztown University, 85 to 87, majored in commercial and graphic art, And maybe like some of the other artists here, it was pre-digital. So we were making our designs by hand. I did a lot of watercolors for the ads, and other designs and logo marks and that type of thing. So I did a lot of watercolor throughout the years. I also, when I worked at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, I took some night classes with Al Gurry in figure painting. So I really got into doing direct oil painting of the figure and still lifes. So with that, I actually changed my careers and started up my own massage business in my home. So my fine art studio and massage studio are in my home. So I didn't want the toxins of the oils and the cleaners in the house and the odors to permeate throughout the house. So I switched to water base, so back into watercolors. And I also work with acrylics. The works that you see here are all watercolors on 10 by 10 square watercolor paper. And I had got, this time last year, I had got new watercolor sets, which I really liked. This set I started off the paintings with. And this set is the cakes are mixed with a black pigment. So they're kind of really earth color, which I had a lot of fun with. And then later I went back into them with more of the primary colors in the cakes. And these are a nice set. I really like them. I got them, I forget what store it was, but they're from Japan. And then later I actually went into some touching up with some of these kind of marker pens as well too. So to give some more pop in the color. And I'm really happy with kind of doing that lately. So I've continued working in this style with really wet into wet watercolors. These were actually done all from my mind's eye. I didn't have any reference, which is kind of a new thing for me too. I usually work from either a photo reference or whatever I place in front of me for a still life. But these were just kind of really playful, imaginary holiday scenes that I wanted to just kind of, this time of year, I was spending a lot of time at home and just kind of really get into doing one a night. So I actually went into doing Valentine's ones and other holidays too. So yeah,
Thanks, Thom.
thank you.
Next is Lindsay Kovnat. Hello, Lindsay.
Hi. Hello. Hi, my name's Lindsay. I, a long time ago, went to University of the Arts for animation. And so it's been a really long time. So this past year or this past 9 months, I took a program. It was like a critique program. It was like a year-long 9-month thing. So I was getting a lot of feedback on my art, and a prompt that I got was to focus on just cats, because I was making a lot of cat art or art with cats in the picture, but not as like the main character. So I started out this little exploration with like a digital painting, like on Procreate. And so like after I made that painting on Procreate of like a pinup cat, a sexy cat, I got feedback that I should try to make like physical, because I wanted to use paint, but I wanted to be inspired by like and try to make it kind of look digital. So I've been trying to get like, this gradient as a background, and then like kind of, yeah, build up from there. Yeah, so then like final touches were the frames where I spray painted them. And yeah. So oh yeah, and then these characters are kind of like, yeah, playing off of the idea of like the Cheshire cat, and like the cat's like like a ribbon unfolding and disappearing, and reappearing. So I kind of like took that as like idea and made, so there's more of these at my house too, with like less, like the fabric is all coming off and it's more abstract. So it's like going from like, more full and form to like abstract and disappearing. And then, yeah, so this is like the last one that I did that I added a lot of like little cats to make it, I feel like more of a full picture, like with a background, feeling like more depth, I think. And I added some spray paint to make it a little bit more foggy. Yeah, so that's all.
Thank you, Lindsay. No questions, comments for each other? Well, Clem, I have one for you.
Okay.
So you're using a reference for your scenes, or is it from imagination?
Two of these are from a reference photo and two are from imagination. The swing and the Niagara Falls are from photos. The other two are just made up.
Oh yeah. So what is that? What is a granulated watercolor that you?
Granulated watercolor has, how do you explain that? They have kind of like specks in them, I would call it.
A grit.
Yeah, if you zoom into like the one on the bottom left, like below the left tree, it's hard to see it with this, but you would, yeah, it's not really coming out too good, but that's
What it
if you
gives
go
it
down a little
texture.
bit, yeah.
Huh.
And do you use the meditative practice? Like,
I do my own, yeah.
uh-huh.
The classes, I enjoyed the class. I took it twice, and
Hmm.
you just kind of paint whatever's on your mind.
Which ones are done with the meditative practice, or would you say they all were? I can't remember what you said earlier.
Uh, the, let's see, the waterfall on the right top and the one on the bottom left.
Those two are the ones that you also said you didn't work from
Photo,
pictures.
right. There's no photo for them.
Yeah, they just have such a dreamy quality to them. Yeah, it's neat to see the difference, and the process was a little bit different for those.
Yeah. So those are the meditative, they have that meditative value to them also. Which is kind of like whatever came into my mind, I put it into the painting.
Oh, thank you,
With
Clem.
shape and color, it looks like, right? Like really nice.
Thank you.
I have a question for Alexandra. How do you prepare a wood panel for gouache? I would never, it would never occur to me. I've worked on masonite, but
So I
with
just
oil.
yeah, it's hard to find a way to do it that's nice. So I've for a long time I've used golden acrylic paints. They're just wonderful and they make different mediums. So for these, I discovered that there's a ground, I'm sorry, made by Golden that is paper fiber because I'm a lover of working on paper. So what I did is I applied the paper fiber onto it's like a paste. I think it's more of a paste than a medium. So I applied that all over the panel after gessoing it. Uh,
Yeah.
and that creates a very absorbent surface. It's also gives it a texture, which I liked painting. And that's what allowed me to do it. Otherwise, the gouache would beat up on top.
Huh. Wow, that's really interesting. So what do they make the paper fiber paste for? Is that what they make it for? What's the? I'm
I'm not sure where it came into play. I also make paper sculptures, cast paper sculptures. And so I've used it, and I've also used other of their mediums to kind of add onto the paper sculptures that I make. But Golden,
Oh,
Golden's a great company. I've been working with them since the late 90s, and they really build up different materials that if you have a question, you can contact them. So
okay.
there must have been an artist who had some specific desire for a material like that, and they created it. But I don't know what it was originally created for.
So what? Oh, okay. So are they masonite? What kind of wood panels are they?
They're just, the panels are just like cradled with
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
I've bought those. Yeah, I haven't used them much, but yeah. Okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's not masonite. I can't remember right now.
No, I know what you mean. I think I have one or two of those. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's cool.
Alex, are they fixed in a way? The gouache, do you put a fixative on it when you're done?
Yes, I sprayed them with a varnish, and I do
Okay.
I spray varnish them with another golden varnish, but you do a gloss first. You have in order for it to get sealed, and then I chose to do matte on top of the gloss after a couple of layers because of the gouache. I wanted it to go back to gouache, the matte appearance of gouache.
Very nice. Do you know what kind of butterflies those all are?
Oh, that's a good question. I often write it down. I mean, everything I do, I'll research and then write down. And then at the time of painting and then after, I let go of that. So, yeah, I could look it up, but I'm not in that way specific.
Are the butterflies associated with the particular plants? Or is
No, it was just in this garden. So they were fluttering around together, and it's where they landed.
So you did these from photographs you took at the garden?
Yep. Yeah, I often work from photographs. And I'll do little bits of drawing sometimes on site, but I work from photographs afterwards. Yep.
Okay. They're very lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for somebody?
Mick, you said you took photographs and then you go back to the studio and do your watercolors. Is that right? Do you ever do any? I know what you mean about being on site and not being able to get an accurate drawing.
Yeah.
And then, standing there without, any tools or anything. And it's been frustrating for me. Well, actually, when I first started painting, I didn't want to do any architecture painting at all. I just wanted to avoid that because I couldn't look at architecture without being an architect. I couldn't look at it as a painting. As shapes and colors and everything. But recently, I've been going back to the last month. I went to Manioc several times. I did about 20 paintings there from the bridge, the Manioc Bridge. So I kind of got back into thinking about architecture. But I understand how difficult it is to sort of deal with architecture on the spot and without having being able to set up the perspective or something like that.
I mean, invariably, they're just a lot more loose because I'm not going to spend more than an hour or two out there, right? And these pictures here in the exhibit take way longer than that, right? So yeah, they're just a lot more expressive and loose when they're done. for me. So also
Well,
there's bugs biting you and you sweat.
I know.
The best angle is sometimes right in the middle of the road. So it's
Yeah, right.
you don't get
Yeah.
the angle you want.
No, I think your watercolors are really beautiful.
Thank you.
And Judy, yours are as well. I was struck by the architectural nature of those.
Thank you.
The Barnes, the one in the Barnes Museum, which was really
The interior.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting how many people have the architecture background and interior design background in this group.
Right.
Yeah, or just design. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mick, do you use hot press or cold press for those city scenes?
Arches cold press.
Okay.
The full sheets are not as bumpy as you think they are, I guess, if you haven't looked at it yet. I haven't tried actually I have tried the rough. But yeah, just the cold press. So I think the hot press would be way too smooth. So yeah, the green label
The
arches.
green label. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
How large do you paint, or is the work here kind of representative of your scale?
It is representative, but I'm there's one behind me right there, which is kind of the biggest I go up to because my drawing board is only so big. So I go to about 14 to 15 inches high as high as I can go. And I seem to like sort of portrait aspect ratio better than landscape lately. So yeah, usually they're a little taller or square. I like the square format. So yeah, maybe 14 inches square is about as big as I go.
So Judy, I was going to ask you about the light in your paintings. It seems to have a very cool, even quality.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I look at this group, it's very blue, right? Yeah, I guess I was drawn mostly to like the way the light hits the buildings, and just the layering and shapes of the buildings. I guess when I see something that strikes me, but anyway, the one in the barns is like the reflection on the floor was what drew me there, and just trying to capture that.
And they're using a photo reference.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
They have kind of a slightly surreal quality. Part maybe because of the emptiness. There are no people or anything.
Yes, true. Yeah,
A bit abstract compared to Mick's paintings, which are not so abstract, but more. You can see feel the crumbling textures of the buildings and everything. Yeah.
But it's interesting, his doesn't have people in it as well, too. It's just kind of very urban and
Right.
yeah. I probably tend to avoid the people. And I mean, I've tried to use sometimes cars too, or I avoid, but I have used them here and there in some scenes, successfully somewhat, but yeah.
I like the one where Mick has a car on the sidewalk, which is a big thing down here in South Philly. People park on the sidewalks. It's a Philly thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lindsay, what is it about cats?
Oh man. Just, just like I guess the mysteriousness. I have two cats and they're kind of funny and odd and mysterious and graceful. And yeah, these are like kind of like humanized cats and they're kind of like creatures almost. So it's kind of like the cat ends up just being the go-to thing. yeah, I don't know. From here, I recently made an animation that was like a cat and a lady, like fighting, but then loving each other and then like turning into each other and like a morphing thing. So
Where can we see the video?
it's on YouTube. I can put a link. I don't know if it would help somewhere. Yeah, it's on my YouTube Shorts page. Actually, it's on my Instagram too.
Oh, okay. Thank you, artists, so much. So you've all done beautiful work, and we're really grateful to you for participating in the show. And the show is up through December 22nd. We hope people come down to check it out. And everything's also available on our website, ceruleanarts.com. So thanks again and have a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too, Mark.
You
Good night,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Night.